Emma Collins and Khalid Al Saif looked like the perfect newlyweds, rich, beautiful, and madly in love under the glittering Dubai skyline. But behind that flawless wedding photo was a secret so dark, it shattered everything before sunrise. By the time the truth came out, love had already turned into murder. The Crime Scene presents a new page of crime, a new mystery, a new shock case. Dubai glittered like a diamond that night, every street reflecting gold and power. The Burj Khalifa sparkled in the distance, the air thick with perfume, laughter, and the promise of forever. Inside the luxurious ballroom of the Al Noor Palace Hotel, Emma Collins looked every bit the fairy tale bride, radiant in white silk, her smile picture perfect. Around her, guests clinked champagne glasses and took selfies under crystal chandeliers, admiring the couple who seemed to have it all. Khalid Al Saif, her new husband, stood tall beside her, the proud air of a business empire, confident and charming. But behind his calm smile, something restless flickered in his eyes. To everyone watching, it was love at its peak, the beautiful foreign bride and the successful Dubai businessman. But anyone who looked closely could feel a strange chill in the air. Emma's laughter didn't quite reach her eyes, and Khalid's hand around her waist felt more like control than comfort. They danced under soft gold light, a perfect picture of romance. Yet it all felt staged, rehearsed, too perfect to be real. As the night wore on, the crowd began to fade. The music softened, and the fairy lights dimmed. Emma and Khalid left the ballroom hand in hand, walking through corridors lined with roses and candles, heading toward their private suite on the top floor. The cameras caught their smiles, but what no one captured was the tension between them, a quiet war behind polite glances. Outside, the city never slept. But inside that penthouse, something dark was about to awaken. By morning, the laughter, the glamour, and the love story would all be gone. Only the silence of a lifeless bride would remain, marking the night when dreams turned deadly. Emma Collins had always been a mystery, the kind of woman who appeared out of nowhere and somehow fit perfectly into every room she entered. In Dubai, where wealth and charm spoke louder than truth, she played her part flawlessly. She said she came from London, talked about her career and fashion, and dropped just enough details to sound real without ever getting too personal. People believed her because she made them want to. Her accent, her confidence, her smile, everything felt convincing. But beneath the surface, Emma was running from something. She lived in a penthouse she never paid for, drove cars registered under someone else's name, and had no record of employment anywhere. Every bit of her life was stitched together from fragments of lies that looked believable from a distance. Khalid didn't see it at first. To him, she was elegant, mysterious, and different from the shallow women in his world. She made him feel grounded, human. He didn't ask too many questions because he didn't want to ruin the fantasy. Still, certain things didn't sit right. She avoided family discussions, skipped calls when he was nearby, and flinched whenever someone mentioned London. Her past was a blur, like a story half told. But when he asked where her parents were, she smiled and said they'd passed away years ago. He wanted to believe her. Maybe he even did. But something about that smile felt rehearsed. Behind closed doors, Emma spent nights deleting emails, hiding old photos, and transferring money to accounts under different names. Every secret she'd buried was just one discovery away from unraveling everything. And deep down, she knew it was only a matter of time before her perfect life cracked open, exposing the lies she'd built it on. Khalid Al Saif wasn't the kind of man people lied to easily. Born into one of Dubai's most respected families, he carried the quiet confidence of someone who never needed to prove his worth. At 32, he was sharp, controlled, and calculating, the type who could read a person's intentions before they even spoke. But love had a way of blinding even the smartest minds. When he met Emma, he saw what he wanted to see: beauty, grace, and warmth. For once, logic didn't matter. He was done with business deals and social climbers. He wanted something real. Or at least, that's what he thought he was getting. Their romance moved fast, almost too fast. Within months, Emma had slipped into his world like she belonged there. His friends were skeptical, his sister was cautious, but Khalid waved off their concerns. "She's different," he'd said. And in many ways, she was. Emma had an effortless charm that pulled everyone in, but the cracks were already starting to show. She dodged questions about her past, refused to post anything personal online, and seemed overly protective of her passport. Khalid tried to dismiss the unease twisting in his gut, telling himself it was paranoia, that he was just overthinking things. But the truth was beginning to whisper in the corners of his mind. The inconsistencies in her stories, the random late-night messages, the way she disappeared for hours without explanation, it all pointed to something darker. Still, love and pride made him ignore it. He proposed anyway, convinced that commitment would somehow erase his doubts. When she said yes, the world felt right again. What he didn't know was that the moment he slid that ring on her finger, he'd unknowingly signed his life away, and hers too. The wedding was a spectacle straight out of a dream. Gold chandeliers, white roses, and a sea of designer gowns glimmering under Dubai's neon skyline. The Al Saif family spared no expense. Their son's wedding was meant to be talked about for years. Emma looked breathtaking, wrapped in an ivory gown that shimmered with hand-sewn crystals. Every camera in the room was on her, every whisper about her beauty only feeding the illusion she had worked so hard to build. Khalid watched her glide through the ceremony, eyes glowing with pride, unaware that the woman standing beside him was a stranger behind the veil. As vows were exchanged, Emma felt her pulse racing. The weight of the lies she carried sat heavy beneath the lace and gold. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Every "I do" was a silent prayer that her past wouldn't catch up, at least not tonight. She had promised herself that after the wedding, she'd disappear. One final performance, one last lie, and she'd be gone. The celebration rolled on, filled with laughter, champagne, and music echoing through the lavish ballroom. Guests danced, families toasted, and photographers captured what looked like the perfect union. But behind Emma's calm expression, her mind was spinning. The messages on her hidden phone kept flashing, threats, warnings, reminders of debts unpaid. Someone from her past knew exactly where she was. Khalid, oblivious to the storm beneath the surface, whispered promises of forever. Emma just nodded, forcing another smile. She could almost feel the walls closing in, the lies collapsing one by one. And as fireworks exploded over the Arabian Gulf, painting the night sky in gold, Emma Collins, now Mrs. Al Saif, realized that her wedding night might not end with love. It might end with consequences. The honeymoon suite on the top floor of the Burj Al Arab looked like something out of a movie: silk sheets, golden decor, and a view that made the world look small. Emma sat by the window, staring at her reflection against the glowing Dubai skyline. The makeup was perfect, the jewels flawless, but beneath it all, she looked tired, haunted. Khalid had stepped out to take a call, his tone serious, his body language sharp. She could tell something had shifted. He wasn't the same affectionate groom from a few hours ago. When he returned, the silence felt heavy. He didn't smile, didn't touch her hand. He just placed a sleek envelope on the table and told her to open it. Inside were printed screenshots, her old social media accounts, fake IDs, and a set of photographs she thought she'd buried years ago. Emma's breath caught. The color drained from her face. Khalid didn't need to say a word. The truth was right there, in black and white. He had found out everything. The aliases, the previous marriages, the visa scams. Every single lie she had carefully stitched together had unraveled overnight. He'd hired a private investigator weeks before the wedding, just to quiet a gut feeling. And what he found turned love into fury. Emma tried to speak, but her throat locked. Khalid's face was a mix of heartbreak and rage, his jaw tight as he stared at the woman he thought he knew. The luxury suite felt colder, quieter, like the walls themselves were listening. The city lights flickered outside, but inside that room, it was pure darkness. Emma knew there was no fixing it now. No sweet words or tears could save her. The secret was out, and she was trapped, alone with a man who had just discovered her entire life was a lie. The clock ticked past midnight, and the silence in the suite was deafening. Khalid stood by the bar, staring out at the glittering city below, his hand gripping a half-finished glass of whiskey. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, trembling. The calm in his voice earlier was gone, replaced by a quiet, dangerous stillness that made her heart pound harder than ever. He didn't yell, didn't curse. That made it worse. His silence was a storm about to break. Every lie she'd told played in her mind like a film reel she couldn't stop. The fake engagement back in London. The man she'd married in Mumbai for a passport. The scam that funded her trip to Canada before she vanished and reinvented herself as Emma Collins. Khalid knew it all now, every ugly detail. And as he stood there, his reflection flickering in the glass, she could see the betrayal etched across his face like scars. He asked her one question, not about money, not about her past, but why. She couldn't answer. Maybe she'd started with survival in mind, but somewhere along the line, the lies became her reality. Her silence was his confirmation. The man who once adored her was now staring at a stranger. The air turned heavier, suffocating. Khalid placed the whiskey down and slowly walked toward her. His footsteps echoed like thunder in her chest. Emma's instincts screamed for her to run, but her body wouldn't move. She tried to plead, her voice shaking, but he just looked at her. Hollow, cold, like love had been replaced by something far darker. Outside, Dubai sparkled like a city that never slept, but inside that luxurious suite, something pure had just died. And deep down, Emma knew Khalid's heartbreak was about to turn into something far worse. By sunrise, the Dubai skyline glowed in soft gold, hiding the darkness that had unfolded hours before. Hotel staff found the suite doors slightly open, the air inside cold and unnervingly still. Emma lay lifeless on the marble floor, her wedding dress stained and torn, her phone buzzing endlessly beside her. Khalid was nowhere to be found. It looked like a robbery at first, a scene too clean, too deliberate. But detectives quickly noticed what didn't add up. No valuables missing, no signs of forced entry. Just a love story that had turned into a crime scene. As investigators pieced through Khalid's background, they found no history of violence, no warning signs, just a man who loved too deeply and lost too completely. Meanwhile, Emma's past unraveled like a twisted web. The fraudulent marriages, fake identities, and money trails that led from India to London to Dubai painted a picture far more sinister than anyone expected. To the world, she'd been a victim. But to Khalid, she was the reason his life had fallen apart overnight. Days later, Khalid's car was discovered abandoned on the edge of the desert. Inside, a note written in shaky handwriting. Asterisk, love built on lies is already dead. Asterisk, the police called it a murder-suicide, but some believed he never meant to kill her. That rage met regret in one tragic heartbeat. The case became international news, another headline in a world obsessed with betrayal and revenge. But beneath the noise, one haunting truth remained. Lies may protect you for a while, but they always come with interest. In the end, both Emma and Khalid were victims of their own deceptions. And as the Dubai sun rose higher, it shone not on love or justice, but on the ashes of trust that never stood a chance.